Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So for the final video of today, it's Saturday night. I'm going to make a video of, or I'm currently making a video about velocity banking, and it's Saturday, so I figured why not call it a velocity banking Saturday night special, whatever that means. Just an excuse to do velocity banking with all of you fine people. So what I did is I came up with a scenario, or I at least asked ChatGPT to come up with the scenario of a person who makes the average household income, list all their debts and debt balances, payments, and interest rate. And so ChatGPT came up with this scenario, which we'll use to do velocity banking. So you can see there's a student loan here, a credit card here, another credit card, and a personal loan, and all these housing expenses. Some of this is a little weird to me. I kind of reviewed it, and it was like, what's rent and mortgage, right? It's either one or the other. And then if there's a car payment here, why isn't there like a car loan, right? So I don't think ChatGPT knows what it's doing. I mean, if it's a lease, it should say car lease payment, but whatever, I'll work with it. All right. So let's go ahead and transfer all this information to the spreadsheets we do for velocity banking and just kind of transfer the information one at a time. So here we have annual gross income. So when we do velocity banking, we usually put the net income. So we're going to go here, and I've already put the information here, 68,700. So let me go back here. Yeah, 68,700. And the take-home pay is wow, $1,000 in taxes. That's a lot. So it's 4,672.50 cents. So I think I've already written it down in the sheet. No, I've not. So 4672.5. Let me just check that one more time. 4672.5. Okay, so that's my take-home pay. And let's do our expenses or do our expense breakdown. Okay. So we have a student loan, credit card one, credit card two, and a personal loan. So let's write that down in our expense breakdown. And just remember, whenever we do our expense breakdown, um, it's important to list every single debt. Like all the other expenses can be like in a general expense category, but when we do the expense breakdown, every single debt has to be listed because once you pay off the debt, that adds to your cash flow, and that's the whole goal for velocity banking. So let's go ahead and add this information in. So student loan monthly payment is $200. What's the credit card payment? It'll be 100. Okay. Credit card two is $50. And what's the personal loan? That's $150. Okay. And let's go ahead and add the interest rates and information, the balance information. So 4.5 and 25K, 4.5% interest, and whoopsie, did I screw up? Ah, 4.5% and 25K balance. What's the credit card one? 5K and 18%. So I put the percentage first, 18% and 5K. Okay, credit card two would be 22% and 2.5K. All right. And then the personal loan is 8% and 10K. All right. 10K. Awesome. All right. So we've written all of our debts. Okay. And let me just make this a little bit clearer. Right. Credit card one and then credit card two. Okay. All right. So we got that covered. Now we just have to dump all of our general expenses here. So we'll say general expenses or other expenses. Actually, let's do this, rent and then other expenses. I always like to dump rent in its own separate category because everybody knows what they pay for rent. But the other expenses can vary from month to month. So they'll be 1,200. So 1,200. And again, this is weird. Why would say rent slash mortgage? You should say one or the other, but ChatGPT just spits stuff out. All right. So we have utilities and home insurance here. Well, do I rent or do I do I have a mortgage? This is why it's stupid. I shouldn't have home insurance from renting. I may have renter's insurance, but renter's insurance is at 50 a month. So I'll just say 150 is the utilities. So 150. So I'm just gonna cowboy math this. Transportation, car payment, we'll just assume I'm leasing the car, right? So just say that's an extra, ooh, 550, right? And for a lot of people, it's kind of cheap because the average car payment these days is about 700, 800. Okay, groceries will be plus 400. Okay. And then healthcare, health insurance, medical expenses, 350, 350. Okay. And then we've already accounted for these, so we'll use alone. Emergency fund, I don't know how to treat this because this should just be leftover savings, right? But we also have retirement contributions here. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to assume that this bucket is the retirement contributions bucket. And we're not going to, so this is what we're going to do. And again, this depends on your personal philosophy and strategy. I figure it's probably better to pay off debt than to put money into retirement accounts, but some people will disagree with me on that. So let's just not put this as an expense and just kind of cross this out for now. But the other things too, so let's say total personal expenses plus 230 plus 230. Okay. And so our monthly expenses, when we calculate and exclude a few things, is going to be about 1680, right? So 1680. Okay. So now let's go ahead and sum this up. So this would be sum B7 to B12, right? And so let's look how much is left over. So that would be B2 minus B3. And so we have 1200 left over. So that's respectable every single month, right? Almost 1300. So I think, this person is in a pretty good position. Again, that's assuming that we just kind of stop doing the retirement and, emergency fund and all that. Although this savings is pretty much the emergency fund. Okay, so now we've done that. So now I'm going to add a little bit more context and information to this because I'm just going to assume that we have a line of credit that's not listed here, right? So let's just do a 15% personal line of credit at a $10,000 balance. Okay. So now, how do we know the debt payoff criteria? Like, which one should we pay off first, right? And actually, let's just do this. I'm going to copy some of this information here. And so, if we're doing velocity banking, right, there's usually a criteria that we have, and I'm just going to list right here. So it's usually we want to pay off highest interest rates first, or lowest balance first, or highest payment. So it's like a combination of these three, right? If we want to use a more simplified formula that does not take into account the interest rate at all, we use something called the cash flow index, and all that is the sum of the balance, or the balance divided by the monthly payment. So I'm just going to calculate that for you. So give me 1 second and let me format this so that it looks a little bit spiffier, so that it's 2 decimal places. Okay, great. So the balance is 25,000 divided by 200 is the payment. So that's 125. And then this one is, what's the balance here? 5,000 divided by 100 equals 2,500 divided by 50, and then equals 10,000 divided by 150. Okay, so if you ever go to the Wealth Factory's website, so a guy named Garrett Gunderson and his company, the Wealth Factory, came up with this concept, and he says that anything that's above 100, I think above 50, is considered to be an quote an efficient debt, meaning that it's not taking too much of your cash flow compared to the loan amount. And so, especially with loans where the cash flow index is above 100, if you're transferring it to a higher interest rate like a line of credit, you probably don't want to actually dump the whole thing, maybe you do it in chunks, which is how essentially a mortgage would be paid off in chunks. Okay, so we can see here that these two credit cards have the exact same cash flow index, and they're the lowest number. So again, the lowest number is like an arbitrary number, right? And you want to always pay them off at the lowest one first, because they'll free up the most cash flow compared to the statement balance. Or you can just kind of take a look at these and says, which of the debts have the highest interest rates, the lowest balance, and the highest payment? And I would say credit card 1 and credit card 2 kind of fit that category, especially the really high 18 to 22% interest rate. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move both of these into this line of credit balance. So they'll be 7,500, right? And then now this is going to go to 0. This is going to go to 0, right? All the rest is going to stay the same. Okay, and let's go ahead and sum it up, right? And here's the thing about velocity banking. So if you don't know the basic strategy, all it is you put your entire paycheck into your line of credit, and your line of credit is your new operating account rather than your checking account. And then your cash flow, right? So what's our cash flow? We're going to calculate here. So C1 or C2 minus C3 is our new cash flow, right? Cash flow. That's going to be used to pay down the balance of the loan, okay? Or the balance of the debt. So let's go ahead. So again, we put our entire paycheck in. It's going to go down about $4,600. And then we take our expenses from the line of credit, right? We take it out, and it's going to go down by our cash flow. So equals H2 minus 1442.5. And let's see how long it takes for us to go to 0. Okay. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And let's see what the interest is. So again, we're going to estimate the interest by taking the previous month's balance, which is H2, multiply it by 15%, and then divide by 12. And we're going to estimate the monthly interest by doing so. And let's go ahead and sum all the interest up. And the interest is going to be $292. So we're definitely going to pay this off in about 5 months, right? So these two credit cards are gone. And so we'll just make a note here that credit card 1 and credit card 2 took 5 months to pay off. And interest is, what's the total interest? I'll say $300. Probably less than that, because again, we're taking the previous month's balance, but the way that the interest is calculated is actually by the average daily balance. All right, so now we've done that, and then now let's move on, right? So now, after 5 months, so the student loan and the personal loan are actually going to be, the balance of this is not going to be 25K and 10K, because after 5 months, some of those payments go to the principal and they reduce the size of the loan, right? But just because I'm lazy, I'm just going to assume it stayed at 25 and 10K. That's technically an interest-only loan, but that's not how student personal loans work, okay? Usually, unless they say it's interest-only. So now what we're going to do is, should we move, so if this is an 8% loan and this is a 15% line of credit, should we move the entire thing? And I will say it's not necessary, especially if you move a lower rate to a higher rate line of credit. What you could do is just do it in chunks. So what you can do is just move about maybe your monthly salary to the line of credit, and then you should just be able to do the same thing you're doing as before, maintain your liquidity and control your money and still pay off your debt using this strategy. So what we're going to do is just have a balance of 5,000. Let's just do 5,000, right? And see how long it takes for us to pay it off. So our cash flow is still 1442 because we haven't paid it off yet. So H2 minus 1442.5 to, okay. And let's see how long it takes. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So about 3 months, I guess. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now let's take the interest rate. So it's H2 times 0.15 divided by 12. Okay. And now let's go ahead and sum this up. So if we do this twice, and again, I'm aware that we're not doing this twice because if we're paying the loan and transferring to the line of credit, this is actually going to go down as well. But we're just making some kind of cowboy math assumptions. But we'll say it takes about 8 months. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 months and $280 of interest to pay off this loan. So personal loan, 8 months, and how much interest? I can't even remember. $280 interest. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this and put this to 0, right? And so now we just kind of do the same thing with the student loan, right? So now we have a 1592.5 student, or I'm sorry, cash flow. And then we're going to just do transferring chunks into our line of credit. We can just do 5,000, and then so we'll just do 5,000 balance again. And then it goes H2 minus 1592.5. Okay. So 1592.5. Okay. And then 0, 1, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 equals H2 times 0.15 divided by 12, blah, blah, blah. Okay, excellent. And so this is going to pay off in about 3 months, and then we'll redo it again at the 4th month. So 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do another $5,000 here. So let me just think about this. 3 times 5 is 15 months, right? So 15 months. So let me just see, student loan to 15 months, and interest is that'll be 130 times 5. So let's just do that. 130 times 5, 650. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and put this to 0. Okay. So again, these numbers aren't too impressive because the amount of the debt payments, especially like these, are relatively low compared to the loan amount. So you don't get that much cash flow. You maybe like $500 more than you normally would, right? But let's just take a look how long it took us to pay it off. So this would be 23 months. So 23 months. 5 plus 8 is 13 plus 15 is 28 months. Did it take 28 months? Oh, 28 months. Okay. So 28 months. So 28 months, and the interest is about $1,000, right? So 300 plus 280 plus 650 plus 280. So 3 plus 300. So that'll be 28 months, 1230 interest. Okay, so how much is 28 months? 28, that's a little bit more than 2 years, right? So that would be 2.3 years, which is not bad to pay off these debts. But, after you paid all these debts, I think, we can try to find a way to maybe decrease the spending. I don't know. But, the spending seems kind of reasonable too. But yeah, so that's the average household scenario. So with doing velocity banking. So I hope you learned something a little bit today. Again, this isn't the extreme case that I showed last time where it was 6 figures and we're completely paycheck to paycheck, making, had a little bit of like $900 a month, but it's something. I mean, I figure maybe there's a way to decrease the expenses because 1680 a month seems kind of a lot for expenses too. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm a little bit delusional. So if again all the debts are paid off and we're still living paycheck to paycheck, that's either a problem of increasing the income or decreasing the expenses. So we have to figure out how we're going to do that. All right. So this is Korean Atlanta mentorship. Have a great day, everybody. If you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google form link below. And I'll probably make a video tomorrow. So speak to you then. Have a great day. Great night, everybody. This is the Saturday special.